Alright guys, welcome back. So here is our cup. Now you can see it is really smooth. The only part is along the edges. So what I'm gonna do is, I have 400 grit sandpaper. It comes in like 8.5 by 11, might be bigger. If I need more sanding than this, I will use my palm sander. I prefer the palm sander because it's just quicker. You just whip through it, but I don't think it needs a lot of sanding. You guys saw the part 1 and part 2 of how much epoxy we used, and we may not need it, but we'll see. So this is a wet or dry sand. And the main focus is going to be this edge. So you don't want to sand down too far to where you're going to get down to the bottom and sand through your glitter and your spray paint, but I think we're all right, simply because we used enough epoxy. So I'm just gonna get it wet because it's kind of hot. So you can see that. You can see it smoothing out, doing its thing. Now you can do this at the kitchen table, the kitchen sink. You can do this wherever your heart desires. But for video purposes, I'm just doing it right here. That's pretty darn smooth already. So also, even if it was smooth around the top, you could still go ahead and sand it, because when you rough up that area, it's gonna help the epoxy adhere better. So you just wanna keep going all the way around your cup. That honestly feels pretty good. There's one little spot right there, so we're gonna work on that. Also a Dremel or a nail, like a nail salon file. You can get one of those off of Amazon. This paper is pretty much donezo. But you can get one of those nail files or a Dremel, and that helps for all these little spots. It's still sticking up a little bit. So then when you're done sanding, you can either go wash it in the sink with Dawn, like some, Dawn dish soap. Or if you are fortunate enough to have alcohol, rubbing alcohol, you can just douse your cup with rubbing alcohol to get it super clean, make sure all that excess dust is off. Now we're gonna go right in and add our decal. If you're doing water slide, you need to make sure you have a coat of epoxy, nice and clear, nice and smooth before, but because we're doing a decal, you don't have to. This is a vinyl decal. It says she's got mad hustle and a dope soul. This design came exclusively from Trina Jacobson, who has Diamonds and Dust. I think that's the name of her company, Diamonds and Dust, and she has a Facebook group, and she does hand calligraphy, like actual handwriting herself. And her designs are exclusively for her group members and customers. So I'm gonna get the smoothest spot, which is like right here. And I'm gonna turn you around, or turn me around, so you guys can see how I do this. So that's my turner. Here's the decal. It was 2 colors. Really pretty holographic, and then just a white. I cut this on my Cricut. just want to make this as easy to see as possible. So I'm going to peel it off. This might be a really big design because we have a curve too, so it might have been better just to do it up top there, but I love this design. So when you're working with a design like this, oh, it's going to be fun. Always try to start in the middle. You can kind of maneuver it some, but you're gonna, I mean, it's just not realistic to think you're not going to have some sort of creasing somewhere, but usually you can smooth it out. So just be patient. Working your logo on, or your decal. I always say logo. I work with logos a lot. So this top corner is going to be fun, because you can see it already creasing. And you don't want to tear. If you pull it up too much and put it back down, you can have some tearing. So just try to avoid that. We still got a little crease right there. And you got to think, we're working with a 20 ounce modern curve. So if you had a straight cup, oh, they're so much nicer to decorate. Just going to try to smooth it out as best I can before I take the carrier sheet off my transfer paper. So that looks pretty good. We might have some wrinkles. We might have a couple little spots, but the more you do, the better you'll get. All right. So let's start on this side because he was not as much of a pain. We're just gonna slowly pull it. So you can see the little, and you don't want to touch it too much because one, the oils on your finger will transfer to your vinyl and then you'll get some fish eyes that you want to avoid. So there's that. I do have a little wrinkle right here. And right there. So we're just going to try to work it out. Sometimes you can also take your heat gun, not a torch, but you can take a heat gun to it. So see kind of just how it's wrinkled a little bit. Just try to work it out. Ultimately, this is for me to put in my shop, so it's going to have slight imperfections. But ultimately, if you were to get a 20 ounce skinny, just keep in mind you're not going to have these issues. You just have a curve to work with. I could have made the design smaller, but I love it, so I wasn't, it's for a video purpose, and that's kind of how you guys can learn too. Like, I wouldn't recommend using a big design on a curved tumbler, but look at how pretty that is. So we're gonna let this sit for a little while. I don't know, half hour, an hour. Some people let it sit for 24 hours. That way you don't have any lifting issues, but we'll come back and I'm gonna epoxy it depending on how long I let it sit. But you guys can see how smooth we got that, and you can see how scuffed up it looks. It just looks hazy. That's because we sanded it, but it's gonna shine right up when we put our epoxy on it. You guys to be able to see that whole cup. So this is the skinny ounce 20 that I did the double-sided tape on, and then this was the 20 ounce modern curve, the chunky applying epoxy over chunky, and I wanted you to see that. Also, I will zoom you in when I'm done epoxying this, but on the 20 ounce you can definitely see how the decal buckled a little bit. I mean, like I said, it was a big decal. I probably should have made it smaller, but for video purposes, I don't really care. And this one turned out beautiful, no issues, no buckling, but you also have the same width all the way down. Well, this is a skinny, so it tapers a smidge at the top, but this one, I tried to play with it a little bit. It is what it is. I let it sit for a few hours, and I'm gonna go ahead and epoxy it because I just am. This cup over here, I have a tutorial for the double-sided tape method. I'm not sure which one will be posted first, but you guys should go watch that one. This cup is has mother of pearl on it. Mother of pearl is in stock and ready to go. These colors were a bunch of different ones. I'll post that if anyone wants, but it's shipwreck, out to sea, shipwreck holographic, shipwreck metallic, out to sea, sterling silver, and I think that's it. So, and I left the bottom bare just because it's personal preference. I mean, everyone do what you want. It's about 97 degrees outside right now in Florida. So, and I am using Pro Marine on this. I know it's a white cup. You really shouldn't use Pro Marine because it does yellow over time, but that's what I had my pumps in, and a pump and go. So that's why I'm using Pro Marine right now. I am outside. I do not wear a mask because I'm outside. So definitely you're going to have to do a couple coats over top of this decal because you have the crinkles and it is raised a little bit, but we will, there's Danielle's phone. But you want to make sure you get the edges. But I'll go over it again, maybe in a couple hours, just do a flood coat and that should be good. I'm just giving this a really generous amount. And when I was cutting this decal, I cut two, and it kind of just looks beautiful on this cup, so I decided to slap it on and epoxy it alongside of this one. So I'm going to hit it with the heat gun quick. Just to pop any bubbles. I don't think I'm going to have any. Again, I'm outside. It's really, really, really hot. And you don't want to keep your heat gun in the same spot anywhere because you could get those fish eyes. You can burn your epoxy. All that goodness. So, yeah.